Substantially, the Chilean earthquake was much deeper than the one in Haiti, and we're trying to figure out why things differ. We know that there was a tsunami in the Indian Ocean, you all know that. There was one in Kashmir, China. We can't find the information relative to Haiti. It's supposed that there was a small tsunami. We know that there was a small tsunami about 3 meters in Chile, and then you all have seen the films from Japan, right, of the water coming over the breaking walls, and that was about 10 meters high, which means that's about, 30 meters high, which that means that's about as high as a 10-story building. It was the same here, same in the Indian Ocean. Now just imagine sitting out there and looking at a wall of water coming at you that's 10 stories high. We've certainly tried to run. Well, we'll see what really happened in a moment. So this is the earthquake, this is the tsunami taken by a photographer who was killed by the tsunami. This is the tsunami. There's a sailboat out here. These people had, because the water withdrew from the shoreline as it was picked up into the wave. And they had fish flopping out here. They were finding things that were lost. And people ran down to the shore to see what was happening. And then they saw this wave coming. You can see they begin to try to, I think we better get out of here. And all these people were killed, including the photographer. But they found his camera. And this is a picture from his camera. So imagine that. I mean, just imagine looking at something like this. And people were going the wrong direction. This person clearly going the wrong way. Right? Even though it was a nice swimming suit. Anyway. So if we look at what happened now, and the common way of expressing things in the damage was these were the baseline populations. And this is the total number of people injured. Now that's interesting, because most often people report the number of people injured and the number of people killed. Weren't the people that were killed injured? That's why they died. So when we look at the total number of people injured, we add that, the number of dead people, to the number of people who survived. And then what we really want to look at is what percentage of the people that were injured survived, right? We'd like to know that medically. Am I in your way? I'll back up here a little bit. Well, look at this. This is really interesting, because here's Indonesia, and 51% overall in Indonesia of the people who were injured succumbed to their injuries. And two areas that were thought to be really, who've done very, very well, had really the highest level of percentage of injuries. Let me go one step further. Look at Indonesia as a whole, and that's here, 51.4% of the people injured died. But look what happened in Aceh. Why did you guys do so well? Because only 44% of the people who were injured in Aceh died. And then look out here at Tamil Nadu state in India. 72% of the people who were injured died. Now there's a whole bunch of reasons for this, but don't you think we all know why? We don't. We do know that India actually sent people into the field from the hospital to take care of patients in the field before they got to the hospital, which was a good idea. And we don't know how many of those people were reported or not, because record keeping is terrible. But this is really frightening compared to this. So why did you do so well? We don't know why. But I congratulate you, because from this it looks like Indonesia did super well, especially the people in Aceh province. When we look at people dying, what we see reported are the people that were directly injured by the forces of the event. And we have some data about this. However, what we don't know is how many indirect deaths were there. How many people died of tetanus? How many people died of acute myocardial infarction? How many of the people died from suicide? There are some estimates by some people who work in this field that the number of indirect deaths exceeds the number of direct deaths. We do not know. We do not know. You think we should know? We should know. So for those of you that are interested in this field, there's a lot of work to be done in sorting through this material because we don't know a whole lot. Now, in terms of the science of disaster health, disaster medicine, prior to 1989, in the first time that the social studies methodology was brought to the study of disasters was following an earthquake, the 1988 earthquake in Armenia. And the work was done by Dr. Peter Safar, who's certainly one of my mentors, and by a Russian named Nagovsky. And they were interested in the resuscitation potential that could have helped people survive in Armenia following the earthquake. And what they did is they gave us a new science, a new way to look at things, because they were interested in reanimatology. And reanimatology is what we do with CPR. It's resuscitation. So they were looking at could people who died in following the earthquake in Armenia, could some of those people have lives been saved if they had been better prepared, if they had been better prepared. Now we're going to have to deal with they later this morning. This is who we're talking about. And so what we get in disaster reports, and it's still basically this way, we get the cause of the disaster, whatever that is. We get the number of people killed, injured, and displaced. Remember, they separate these, which is inappropriate. Number and type of interventions that were applied, rarely do we find that. After action reports, the non-governmental agencies that respond write reports for their donors. But when we went back and looked at the Indian Ocean earthquake and tsunami, we could find no reports about what these people did. None, zero. And if they had them, they were left within their non-governmental agency organization or within the United Nations organizations, etc. And besides, many of them, if we had seen them, would be biased and self-serving to their own purposes. They were used for organizations so they could essentially get more money from their donors. This all sounds kind of sick, doesn't it? And then we know that we don't know what they did. We don't know what the outcome was. We don't know what the impact was on the affected population. We do not know that. So that creates some issues for us. So when we talk about the research and evaluations, there are two areas that we need to look at. One of them is the epidemiology. And the epidemiology means what can we figure out what's going to happen next? The next time there's a tsunami, can we figure out what's going to happen so we can make some preparations for it? And we're now beginning to accumulate, with the change of methodology, we're now beginning to accumulate a fair amount of information about epidemiology. So we kind of know what's going to happen with the next major tsunami. We pretty much know what's going to happen at the next earthquake. And Dr. Tree informed me when we were in Bali earlier this week that last year in Indonesia, you had more than 400 earthquakes of magnitude of greater than 5. That's more than one a day. Whoa. You guys want to move to Madison, Wisconsin, because we don't have earthquakes. The only thing we have are snowstorms and tornadoes. I don't think many of you have been in a snowstorm yet, right? But we get those. So we really want to know what the epidemiology is. We want to know what factors are common in all disasters when we know, for example, regardless of the cause, that we know that people are going to need water. We know that. So if we're going to prepare for any disaster, we certainly have to have supplies of water someplace, regardless of what the cause is. So those are common. And we need to look for patterns that may contribute to decreasing the damage and increasing the preparedness and management. And then we need to evaluate the interventions as well. What did people do? And we have to have an organized way to do it. What did they do? Why did they do it? What was the outcome? What did it produce? Was it of any benefit to the people that were affected? not just to the